Hi, I'm Joe Polizzi, and this is the Content Inc. podcast. 5 minutes every Monday for content creators who desire to be content entrepreneurs. This podcast is supported by Memberful. We've had more and more requests for information on memberships. What's not to like? A great source of revenue for creators, ownership of your own data, and build truly loyal audiences. Memberful will help you do that. Get started for free today at memberful.com/contentinc. So this is a special episode based on my Orange Letter newsletter that I wrote last week. And I just hope you'll forgive me for talking about something that's important to me, that was on my mind, a little bit of insight into what makes me tick. Next week, back to your regularly scheduled Content Inc. I just watched Remembering Gene Wilder, a new documentary on Netflix. Wilder played and wrote some of the greatest comedic roles of all time. Willy Wonka, Dr. Frederick Frankenstein, The Waco Kid, Leo Bloom. Gene Wilder died of Alzheimer's disease in 2016 at the age of 83. Now, all you need to know about how the disease affected Wilder comes from the documentary interview with his best friend, Mel Brooks. And Mel says, "I called him a lot thinking maybe if I gave him enough references, I could get him out of it. Insanity on my part. He was in the throes of that terrible disease. We could never talk too long after he got it. It was so sad, and it made me cry a lot." Alzheimer's disease causes the brain to shrink, and eventually it kills brain cells. When it progresses enough, it becomes dementia, where the affected person will lose memory and change their behavior and ability to function. There is currently no treatment or cure for Alzheimer's. Now, there's not a day that goes by that I do not think about this disease. For over a decade, my dad traveled with me and my friends down to South Carolina for our annual golf trip. In 2019, while we were waiting out a rain delay, I needed to step out of the motel room we were staying in to take a call. I told my dad that I'd be right outside. I'm about 30 feet from the motel door talking on the phone, and I see the door open and my dad look both ways and dart down the hall. I ended the call and jogged over to him. "Dad, where are you going?" I said. "Going to look for you. I didn't know where you were." He was a little panicked. "I just told you I was taking a call outside." "I don't remember," he said, and then I walked him back to the room. Later in the same trip, I lost him at a rest stop when I went inside to use the restroom. I found him on the other side of the rest stop, eating ice cream without a care in the world. Now, both these situations really shook me up. I knew this would be my last golf trip with my dad. Now, the good news is I still golf consistently with my father. I've already been out with him 3 times this summer to play 9 holes. And while he struggles to put the tee into the ground, he still hits every drive perfectly down the middle about 150 yards, which is not bad at all for 85 years old. This week, he actually had 2 legitimate pars. Each time we golf, he believes it's his first time out for the year. He also believes he hasn't played the course we go to in so many years, even though he's played it dozens of times recently. He asks a lot of the same questions, like if Jack Nicklaus or Lee Trevino are still alive. He tells the same stories, like when I used to cry because I had trouble hitting the ball when I was a kid, and this is absolutely true. And he knows I have kids, so the disease hasn't totally shut down his memory, although when he asks how old they are, and I say 21 and 22, he almost falls out of the golf cart. In his mind, they are just toddlers. When he sees them in person, sometimes he seems a bit shaken and surprised, which makes perfect sense. He told me a story about how our oldest squirted him with a water hose. This sounds like a true story, but as my dad tells it, it happened only a short time ago and most likely happened over 15 years ago. The great news about my dad is that he's almost always in a good mood. I've known some people with the disease who get angry and combative, and at least for now, we aren't at this point. I'm also thankful that he remembers the trip he and I took to Sicily to see his cousins. It was one of those bucket list trips. He only remembers seeing his mother's house and holding his aunt's hand, and it was actually his cousin, but at least he remembers. My dad's 2 sisters both had advanced versions of the disease before they passed. And whenever my cousin and I see each other, Alzheimer's comes up in our conversations naturally. Since the disease is genetic, we both feel like we're marked. Now, when I can't remember something, I immediately think it's early onset. Now, it's not. I'm being irrational, but still. And part of the reason I regularly exercise and stay socially active, read, and even write is because I know these activities will help reduce cognitive decline. Alzheimer's is a horrible disease where you lose someone slowly over time. It's one of the worst diseases, in my opinion. But knowing all this is also, weirdly enough, a gift. I cherish moments today. I value time more than ever. For Father's Day, the kids took me out for coffee and breakfast, and we talked about our dreams. We talked about what we each hope to accomplish. They asked me what my dream is, and I told them that I want to find ways to make a positive impact on other people. I didn't know exactly how I was going to get there, but that was the goal. I wanted them to know that I still struggle with things, that I don't have all the answers to life or happiness. But I told them that I love them and that I'm proud of them, and that I can't wait to be around to see how the two of them impact the world and find their version of happiness. It was one of those days I will hopefully never forget. The point of all this is, life is short. Cherish every minute. I'll talk to you next week.